Hello and welcome to another NFoxtv video. Today marks the 1 year anniversary of my BMW M140i. So I've had this for 12 months now, done 8,000 miles, and to be honest, I love it every bit as much as I did when I first got it. Now it has had me thinking though, what would I replace the 140 with? And whilst I'm not necessarily looking to replace it right now, I thought it would be a good idea just to have a look at some of the options, particularly from BMW, that are available to move to. Now I haven't done a video for a little while, so I thought I would do a little competition in today's video, just to give someone the opportunity to win the full screen Apple CarPlay for your BMW supplied by Define Coding. So yeah, stick around to see how you can win that. So I wanted to look at some of the cars in the BMW range that you could consider moving to from the 140i. Fortunately, BMW UK were kind enough to invite me along to one of their driving experience days, which allowed me to test out a couple of the cars that, you know, I would consider moving to from the 140. So I headed up to Bedford Autodrome and yeah, had a look at some of the models in question. When moving on from the M140, you know, different people are going to have different requirements. You know, one of the things that I really love about this car is the fact that it's so much fun. It's just it's a little animal, to be honest. But at the same time, you know, when driving up to Bedford the other day, I was still able to achieve 43 miles per gallon on a run, which is just mind-boggling. And I know we don't buy these cars for their economy and this, that, the other, but just because I'm a car enthusiast doesn't mean I've got bags of money. And yeah, if I'm tearing my car around the Nürburgring, I don't think twice about the amount of fuel I'm using. But actually on the trip over to the Nürburgring, 500 miles, well, if that can be as cheap as possible, that, you know, that's good for my wallet. So because of that, you know, I want to look at a few cars that, you know, might suit different people, you know, with different expectations, requirements, and, you know, budgets. So to start off with, the obvious choice from this car, and it's the car I almost bought before getting the 140, and that's the M240i. Now it shares the same engine, the same automatic gearbox as the 140 I have here, and yeah, it's not that much more expensive. I mean, we're talking maybe a couple of £1,000 difference for the most part. You know, it's certainly spec dependent, but your running costs and everything else, they're all near on identical. Now the reason I didn't go for the 240i the first time round was because, as most of you probably know, I'm a real sucker for the BMW M2, and I knew every time that I got out of the car, looked back, whilst I'd probably still love it, I'd still know it wasn't an M2, and yeah, for that reason I went for the 1 Series, because it's just a completely different look and feel. However, getting a chance to take the 240 out on track, and you know, we weren't able to go 10 temps by any means. We're following an instructor in a pace car, so yeah, the thing was limited somewhat, but you were still able to get enough of a sense of the drive.
We're heading down to that Z4 chicane. As we brake, we're going to watch it look at the code. We want to be nice and close to that as we go in the orange code. And straight line the chicane, running out left on the exit. Smoothly back to the right. Already looking into the next corner to the aprons curve. Remember, take a little curve as you go in, running out to the right.
and you know, no question, it is just a more capable car than my 140. It's, don't get me wrong, it's not leaps and bounds out of that. It just feels that little bit more stable. You know, these are quite lively little things, and you know, you've got a tendency to snap a little bit, whereas it did inspire quite a bit more confidence, whilst holding the same advantages and everything else that the 1 Series has in the first place. But is it enough of a difference from the 140 to make it worthwhile? And for me, you know, it just really isn't. You could probably tinker with the suspension on this, and yeah, probably get a very similar feel. Obviously, don't quote me on that, but yeah, it's not enough, you know, enough of a difference to warrant the money you'll probably lose in the transition to the car. But if you are a first-time buyer and looking at the 140 and the 240, I you know, certainly encourage you to test drive both. Now, if you're wanting to step the game up a little bit more, the new BMW Z4, yeah, that really is an interesting car. So it holds the same, again, B58 engine as in this car, the 240, the same ZF 8-speed gearbox. So you've got, you know, that beautiful symphony of those two working in conjunction with each other, but on a platform that is just a little wider, a little longer, and the factory fitted LSD. Now, that makes for an absolutely incredible drive. Again, very similar conditions to the 240. We're following an instructor, and yeah, this particular instructor was a little bit more cautious than the previous one, which was a shame, because I'd like to have put the Z4 through its paces a little bit more. But the grip, just coming out of any corner, just, you know, easing that throttle in, and it just grabs traction and, you know, catapults you out. It's absolutely phenomenal.
But remember, it's a very tight left, so I'm going to brake slightly early and just keep the brakes on. That's it, well done. Okay, through the S, so the exit of the S, that's when we start to put the power back on again. So squeeze the power on, look for the brake one on the right, brake just before it, brake strong, slowly off the brakes as you turn in, let the car roll in for a little bit, then start to pick up the power, and as you straighten the wheel, more speed. So, braking hard, you want to brake strong enough to see the nose dip, you want to keep the nose dipped for the whole braking distance, and then ease off the brakes as you turn in. Let the car run wide, slowly bring it over. Dab, turn and go. Dab the brake, turn, and then go. Squeeze the power on through the corner. Same again, just dab at the right side, dab the brake, point the nose in, then pick up the power again, start to squeeze it through. To the brake wheel, remember, nose dive on the brakes for me, keep the weight on the nose, keep the weight on the nose, all the way in, all the way in, slowly off the brakes as you turn, hit the clipping points. To the green light.
Controversially, the Z4 actually costs about the same amount of money as the M2 competition, which, you know, it does make you think then, well, why would I get the Z4? Well, actually, they're two very different cars, and depending on what it is you want from the car, both, you know, have their distinct advantages. So for me, the Z4 is actually the more logical choice for what I do. With the B58 engine, the ZF gearbox, I know I can get really good fuel consumption on a run for, you know, trips that I'm doing a bit further away, which is what I'm more likely to be doing than going around a track. But equally, it's still got the ability going around a track. I've heard, for example, the Z4 40i has set a faster lap time round the Nürburgring than the original M2, and that was their aim with it. Now, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but if that's the case, you know, what more really do you want from a car that, you know, it can tick so many boxes and yet still be affordable to run, but an absolute hoot to drive as well. But if you are looking for you know, the ultimate M experience around the same price, then yeah, there's no question the M2 competition is, you know, without doubt the most sorted car, and arguably not just within BMW. I mean, if you look at any of the cars that are available for around that price point, there's not much that comes up against it other than the Cayman, but actually you're going to be spending probably an extra 10 grand or so on the equivalent spec Cayman. So, you know, for the money, it really is a sorted package. Now, there is the original M2, which I haven't really mentioned. I guess because the M2 competition's out now, it's less attractive. They are coming up actually really cheaply now, so don't rule it out by any means. But from my perspective, knowing the new one's out now, that's where I'd want to hedge my money. So what's my conclusion? Well, you know, kind of as I've said already, for me right now, if I had to change my car, I am really, really drawn to the BMW Z4. I think it looks great. It's at, you know, a very reasonable price point. It has actually, for me, the advantage of being a bit of a Marmite car, and historically they've never sold very well, and as a result, I'm hoping that would, you know, remain the same and it be a little bit more unique than you know what everyone else is purchasing. Now, other cars that I haven't really gone into, you know, the M3, the M4. I mean, again, on this driving experience day, I mean, if you haven't checked out the driving experiences with BMW, I'll put the details in the description below. You can pay a small fee to actually go along to these days as well, and it really is incredible. And we spent quite a bit of time in the M4 around the slalom circuit. You know, getting them sideways. And yeah, a race prepped one, taking that around the track, which was, well, I'll put some footage in, but yeah, absolutely amazing experience. Yeah, I'd highly recommend you checking that out. Now, I did mention a competition. Now, I've teamed up with Defined Coding, who supplied me with my full screen Apple CarPlay, which, as you can see, it looks absolutely stunning, and it's a must-have. And if you don't have Apple CarPlay in your car, there's every chance that you can get it retrofitted as well. So it's worth entering. If there are probably going to be some models that aren't supported and stuff like that, and if you do happen to win and your car isn't on the list, you know, I'd be happy to, you know, if you've got a friend or anything else, you know, just so that someone gets the benefit. So what do you need to do to win? Quite simple. Follow NFoxtv and Define Coding on Instagram, and then comment in the description below which of the cars that I featured today would you have given the choice, why that is, and also just drop me your username on Instagram as well. So I'll reveal the winner in a few days on my Instagram account and tag you in it. And yeah, thanks ever so much for watching. Hope this video was useful. Please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and stay tuned for plenty more videos to come. Cheers.